The youngest murderers this century were driven at speed to an indefinite future in custody, detained at Her Majesty's pleasure. The judge told them they'd be kept securely for very, very many years. They were Robert Thompson, aged 11, one of 7 children whose father had left home. A persistent truant, he'd absconded on 37 of the previous 60 school days. And John Venables on the right, also 11, a school friend of Thompson's, who has frequently cried in the dock during his trial. The jury foreman delivered their verdicts just after 5 o'clock this afternoon. Thompson and Venables were guilty of both the abduction and murder of James Bulger. Denise Bulger, James's mum, was in court for the first time. She cried quietly in the public gallery as the judge, Mr. Justice Morland, described the boys' conducts as both cunning and very wicked. It was an evil and brutal murder, he said. Mrs. Bulger, who had stayed away until the very last day, left court this evening supported by her brothers and husband. The family's solicitor expressed their satisfaction at the outcome.
The sentence that has been passed is the only sentence that the court could pass. They recognise that, but no sentence the court could pass would ever bring James back, and nor, in their view, could it ever properly punish those 2 boys for what they did.
For 17 days, Thompson and Venables have been brought to Preston Crown Court in these vans. Their identities protected from even the most powerful lenses by chipboard hastily installed over the windows. Thompson is said to be suffering from post-traumatic stress and is frightened by the outside world. His mother says she still believes his denials of the murder. It's obvious he's a little liar, he's devious, he's a scally, he robs, he plays truant, he's not a murderer. I couldn't even begin to say I'm sorry for what's happened. There's nothing you can say to that family. Venables was on daily report at school and is said to be hyperactive. His mother too has spoken of his crime. You do feel shamed, she said, because it's your son that has been involved in all this. It's just a nightmare. I don't think we went wrong at all. He's had more love and attention than a lot of children I know. I think about little James and what he went through. I know how I feel as a mother. It's just heartbreaking.
If you've got me baby, just come back.
By the time his mum made an appeal for James's safe return, he was already dead. For the Bulger family, an unimaginable nightmare began when he was lured from her side in this butcher's shop. The police search was futile. Hundreds of officers combed Liverpool, but James had already been dragged and pulled 2.5 miles from Bootle to Walton, nearly thrown into a canal, kicked as he passed a busy roundabout, marched towards the scene of a relentless, violent and vicious attack. By the time James had been dragged under this railway bridge and up an alleyway, he'd been seen by no fewer than 38 witnesses. A handful of them had spoken to the boys, but none had intervened strongly enough to save James's life. Perhaps one of the lasting questions arising out of this trial is how many of us can say that had we been among those witnesses, we'd have behaved any differently. This man was one of those witnesses.
I went to the police that same day, on the Monday, and reported the incident. And I said to the police at that stage, I hope that it wasn't him, because I couldn't live with the thought that I could have done something about it.
Hello, Merseyside Police, can I help you?
From the start, the public's response to the Bulger inquiry was unprecedented. Information came in 24 hours a day, mostly in response to the lasting image of this crime, caught on camera by the security videos in the Strand shopping centre. James was first seen outside the butcher's shop. A minute later, Denise Bulger frantically searches for him. But by now, he's upstairs, following 2 boys. Venables is then seen leading James by the hand, an image which was to prove that the killers of a child were just children themselves. The video was specially enhanced by police scientists, sifting through its 6 images per second. The resulting tape was the key to the conviction of the boys. The boys were gradually told about evidence gathered at the scene of James's death.
We went up to the railway line and it was just horrendous. None of us, and there was only a very limited people who actually saw it, could appreciate the extent of what had taken place. How do you cope with it? Your professional ability copes with this at that time, in so much as you know that you've got certain tasks that you've got to do.
It was a long and slow process for the team headed by Superintendent Kirby A keen sportsman, relaxation during the trial was an hour's workout at a police gym. But for this teetotal Christian, there's still, 9 months on, one overriding unanswered question.
I personally would like somebody at some stage who's professionally trained to offer me some explanation as to why these two boys behaved in the way that they did.
Every day since James's funeral, the question why has also been at the forefront of the Bulger family's minds.
I mean, she was standing there with her son one second and he was gone the next. It was as quick as that. The blink of an eye, he was gone. She can't be held guilty for nothing.
We see them as a strong couple, a couple who's bearing up quite well, considering everything that they've been through.
Ralph and Denise are expecting another baby in the next few weeks, but the families say it can't be a substitute.
The new baby will never ever replace James. That's a gap that will never ever be replaced. But it will bring some happiness back into their lives. But no, there's nothing that can replace James. His angel face, the way he smiled. To me, James was the perfect child.
We may never know why it was done. Perhaps not even Thompson and Venables can explain why, without provocation, they took the life of a defenceless toddler. Jonathan Munro, News at 10, at the James Bulger murder trial.